All right, everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm going to give everybody some time to get in. Hope everybody's having a great evening. It is 7 o'clock on the dot, so we are going to go ahead and begin. This is going to be a Q&A live stream, but I also have a couple of questions for you about some upcoming content, but I'm going to give everybody a chance to come in. We've got Marbles Ryan, we've got Satan, we've got Tyler Caswell, we've got Victim of Fate, Undertaker Lover, JBVHD, all saying hello. Marbles Ryan is here officially. We've got Victim of Fate. Again, I'm doing all right. It's M3RK, we've got Flying Car, Spidey Projects, Daniel Matt Davenroy, we've got Brian Hicks, Strolling with Jordan, Andrew Rodenbucher, OP. We got Henry Sullivan. Thanks for joining us. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to get in, and we'll do some questions, and I'll read some chat messages. Also, if you notice in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little window that at a certain point I'll pull up, and I'll ask you guys about some new styles, some editing styles. Some of you all have noticed that some of the editing styles on a few of the videos have changed. I wanted to get you all's opinions on it, which we'll do, and I'll pull that little window that you see over. It's the window, this side right here. I'll pull it up here in just a moment. So just reading messages of people that are in the chat already. Everybody's saying hello. Tyler Caswell, what did you do today? I worked for sure. We've got some channel members. We've got Marble Sky, longest running channel member ever in the history of School Principal Reacts. Henry Sullivan, longtime member. I think Midnight Kitten, I think you're like the third of all the 160 something channel members. And here come the questions. Okay, so I'm going to go through them. At a certain point, again, I'll pull up this little window and show you some stuff on YouTube and ask you all's opinion on some stuff. All right, I better get going. I'm going to get behind already. DeLuna Art Studios, that's their thing. Just walked out of couples therapy. A Fred fan, react to the Patrick Show episode called SpongeBob and Patrick's Timeline Twist. I have a few episodes that people have recommended of the Patrick Star Show. I don't remember what they are offhand, but I do have them in my phone. All of the viewer suggestions and comments are on my phone, or the comments that suggest things. Victim of Fate, nice to see you as well. Thank you for being here. Marbles Ryan, glad you're here. Big Bad Wolf is here. And it's kind of fun on these streams. I always see a lot of very familiar faces. That is usernames, and then I see brand new people on each one. So if this is your first time on one of my streams, welcome. So JBVHD says Fillmore. Yeah, more and more people are suggesting Fillmore. I'm not familiar with it, but a lot of people have been suggesting it lately. I think I'm going to have to take a look at it. Andrew Rodenbucher, what are your overall thoughts on Max Keeble's big move? I liked it. It's kind of old school at this point. It's a little older, let me say that. It's in 2001, I think. I was just finishing up high school and starting college at that time. But Max Keeble's Big Move, good movie. I enjoyed reviewing it. 3 parts. All of them are public videos if you want to see those if you haven't seen it. Isaac. I don't know why I said Ned's. Isaac says, when are you releasing the Neptune Spatula episode? I don't know, but if I look on my phone, which is where I keep the long-term schedule, so Neptune Spatula will be in 2.5 weeks, Isaac. It will be on October the 3rd. So I don't mind telling you, since you all are here, bonus for being on the live stream. So as you know, this Friday is the Salty Sponge. Next week, September 26th, will be Big Pink Loser, which a lot of people have been asking for. And then after that, on October 3rd, will be Neptune Spatula. All right, let me read some more chat messages. And in a while, again, we'll look at this if I can point at it, window here. Tyler says he helped his dad. That's what he did today. That's cool. XNamCore says, just got done drilling 2 holes in metal in the wrong place. That's a bummer. Don't know why you were drilling, but that's always a bummer. Soundmaster Blink, any memorable principles from your day as a student or teacher? As a student, not so much. Like, I went to a really big high school, and I barely knew who the principal was. I only saw him at, like, big assemblies once a year or something, and I never got in trouble, so I never had to go down there for that reason. As a teacher, I almost just said some names. I'm not going to say their real names. As a teacher... there were a couple of people early on that helped me out that were nice. There were a couple of people that were really mean, because you didn't say positive, you said memorable. So there's one in particular that was just really harsh. In fact, even today, if people find out that I worked with this particular person, they ask me about them because they were just so harsh. Actually, there were a couple that were memorable when I was an assistant principal, because when you're assistant principal or vice principal, what you're really doing is getting experience and learning how to be a principal. Most school districts, at least the good ones, they don't put people in those roles unless they want to eventually have them become a principal. So there were a couple when I was a vice principal that I really looked up to that taught me a lot. OP, who is your favorite My Little Pony character and why? I think I've answered this. Well, actually, I'll change my answer a little bit. Someone asked me that on the last stream, and I said Twilight Sparkle because they're the principal or head mayor. I also kind of like Applejack because she's always like the voice of reason. She usually says things that make sense, even though the other ponies are like all over the place. So those would be my favorites. Okay, I'm going to have to go faster. Alyssa, hello from me and some of my cats. Midnight Kitten says, yep. Undertaker Lover says, I worked also longer than usual. Poke 1855 says, hello, my first live stream. Nice to see you here. Victim of Fate says, SpongeBob conspiracy theories. A few people recently have wanted me to take a look at the Alex Bale videos again. I do plan to do that because there's several that are still out there. Kaimani Burrell, good day, everyone. Thank you for being here. I've got a little surprise for you at some point in this stream that I'll show you. Kaimani, principal's office level member, along with Peter Pie. That's the highest membership level I have. Victim of Fate says, underwater color theory. Undertaker Lover says, tea at the Tree Dome. I'll have to eventually do that. That's one of the most requested episodes that I haven't done yet. Jordan Lassiter, you get a shave. If you mean my head, then yes. The rest of my face is sorted normal. Spidey Project says, I think you should react to Napoleon Dynamite. There's a scene with the principal that doesn't make sense. You know, a lot of people that are new to the channel don't know this, but the very first episode on this channel is Napoleon Dynamite. However, for whatever reason, it got blocked or something happened to it. And I don't really make money off of that video because it's so old. And so I've been thinking about redoing it. So I may end up making a new one, a new version of it. Blue Destroyer says hi. Marbles Ryan says hi to Kaimani. Poke 1855 says, how long have you been in the education system? Just over 20 years. Working in the education system. Daniel Matt Davenroy, do you like Danny Phantom? No idea, because I've never seen it. Satan says, it's great to be here. Kaimani Burrell says, hi back to Marbles Ryan. M3RK says, the other day I was just sitting at work and this teacher came over to the library and she had a really big, deep voice. It startled me. Okay. Goldly Gamer, channel member, says, hello, school principal reacts. Victim of Fate says, Johnny Test, LOL. Andrew Rodenbucher says, Larry Miller played the principal on Max Keeble's Big Move. Yep. I didn't know the actor's name, but I certainly recognized him. Principal Jen Drake, who was horrible in the movie. Not the actor, though. The actor did a great job portraying him. All right. Let's see. Poke1855, how is life so far for you? Not my day, but my whole life. It's good, though. It's really good, all things considered. Clayton Moore, hello, Brandon. Principal Reacts, have you ever thought about doing tier list on all the cartoon villains? Because villains is what makes the show, but the cartoons one. Yeah, I could. Or maybe the villains on, like, the shows or movies that I've done. Gameroo says hi. Victim of Fate says please like and subscribe. Yeah, I appreciate it. Although it's funny, I did look because I was curious. On the live streams, it's more subscribers than non-subscribers. But on my videos, it's more people that just watch that aren't subscribed, which is why in every single video I ask people to subscribe. Sorry if that's annoying. If you've already subscribed and you're like, yes, I've already subscribed, quit telling me to. That's why. Jordan Lassiter says, I'm just waiting for my waiter to boil for my spaghetti. Okay. Santee says, hey, Brandon. M3RK says, September 26th is my birthday. Happy birthday, M3RK. So I guess you get, what was it? It was Big Pink Loser, SpongeBob, for your birthday. We'll just say that was the reason I made it. Flying Car 100 says, my locker was near the offices on high school, so I saw the principal every morning, basically. Okay. Yeah, and a lot of principals, including myself, would just stand like near the front or in the hallway or at the school buses as people come in. That's typical. Poke says, what subject did you teach as a teacher? You look like an English or history teacher. Okay, I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. I actually taught instrumental music or band. I was a band director. Kind of like in the music class episode of Ned's Declassified. But not quite as dry as that guy. Goodness. Thomas T-Bone. Brandon, did you have a good weekend last weekend? Yeah, I did. It was pretty good. Just kind of relaxed. Blue Destroyer says, happy early birthday, M3RK. Wendy Indy says, yo, Brandon, have you ever seen the movie Whiplash? I have not. I would not recommend it for the channel, but it focuses on the trials and tribulations of a jazz student. Sounds interesting. Mark Page says, well, Brandon, does your phone tell you which episode is next week? And I did say it a minute ago. You may have missed it. It's Big Pink Loser from season... Well, I don't have the season here. I thought I did. Big Pink Loser is what it is. Jordan Lassiter says, currently making my spaghetti. Henry Sullivan says, just got off work at a small alternative school, just under 150 students. Love that it's close to my house. Okay. Soundmaster Blink, as principal, which group is most difficult to deal with? The students, parents, teachers. Ooh, that's a good one. I like the really interesting questions. Oh, man. It really depends on what school. So the very first school, let's see. Let me think about when I was a administrator at 3 different schools. So the first one, I would probably say the parents were the toughest to deal with. The second school, it would be the students. That was sort of a rough place. It would be the students were harder to deal with. At the third one, probably a toss-up between parents and teachers. Not that they were even that bad. It's just that's what it was. It's funny. People say when you become a principal or an administrator, before you were teaching the kids and you had your class, and then it's like the teachers become your class, and you have, just like your students, you have high-performing ones, low-performing ones, people who need more help, people who act out, except in adult sort of ways. Adult sort of ways meaning like not hitting each other, but like maybe breaking a rule here, breaking a rule there, little things usually. Interesting question. Tyler Caswell says, you should watch the Fairly Odd Parents episode Boy Toy. Spidey Project says, how do you help students with autism? Well, there's actually a ton of training available for dealing with, as we call it, students with disabilities. Autism being one of the many disabilities that there are. So students that receive special education or have special needs, there's a bunch of different reasons that they need that. Sometimes it's a physical thing, like a physical impairment. Other times it's an intellectual disability or an autism spectrum disorder, and you help them really by meeting their needs. The thing about autism is every single student with autism is very, very different from each other. So you'll have some that have one trigger, another one that has a different trigger, or they learn in different ways. But across the board, the biggest things are loud noises. Loud noises are not good. Routines are very important, not deviating from the routine. Some people with autism are nonverbal. Other people are verbal, but they have they have difficulty with interacting. So everybody's different, and it's about learning strategies through training to meet their needs. Good question. Alyssa says, hello from me and my cat, Mr. Binks. That sounds like a good cat name. Undertaker Lover says, anybody ever try rubbing your head for good luck? Not so much. That wouldn't end well in most cases, probably. Imagine going up to the principal of the school and doing that. For most people, it would not work. Yisroel Lysenring, planning to do Hey Arnold episode, Arnold betrays Iggy. I think that's on my list. It's not the most highly rated, but it's on the list. The biggest one for Hey Arnold is probably Helga on the Couch, has been the most, and The Flood, I think, is another one. And I think there's also a teacher strike one. DeLuna Art Studio says, have you ever seen things get physical between parents and staff? Parents and staff? Sort of. I've seen some crazy things in the past, and a lot of times I'm not able to talk about it if it's sensitive. But I have seen something similar to that. I've seen like a relative of a staff member and another staff member get pretty upset with each other. Parents and staff, not physical though. Usually doesn't go quite that far. I've heard yelling and screaming. I've heard profanity. I've even heard threats. None of which are good, but physicality only once or twice, but it wasn't exactly apparent to a staff member. And that was quite some time ago, to be clear. Okay, let's scroll back up. Hold on. I have to find my place. Every once in a while, the stream will lag a little bit, and then it'll load a ton of messages at once, and I'll have to find my place again. Okay, here it is. Random Account 21 says, hi, Brandon. I finally caught a live stream. Nice to have you here. Brony 22 says, hey, how's it going? It's going great. Hank the Tank is here. The stream has officially started. Hank the Tank says, hello, Brandon. Thank you, mods, by the way, for being here. Victim of Fate, Draw My Life, Mr. Principal Edition. I think that would be really cool. I may do that at some point. I don't know how to do a Draw My Life video, but maybe someday it'll happen. Hank the Tank, what was your favorite part of the SpongeBob movie? To me, the best part, the number one best part was the Now That We're Men song. I mean, I have to go with that. Second to that is I laughed pretty hard when David Hasselhoff gets in the water and just starts like speeding away as if he's a jet ski or something. That was pretty funny. Let's see. Kaimani Burrell, I'm excited and looking forward to it. How's your day today? I just got back from Taekwondo. That's pretty cool. I wonder what belt Kaimani is. Day's going pretty good. Anytime there's a live stream, it's a good day. Andrew Rodenbucher, the bully who is taking Max's money on Max Keeble's big move, voices Fillmore in Fillmore. You mean the I forgot that guy's name, the investor or whatever his name was. Didn't know that. Brony22, one of my favorite episodes of Ned's Declassified is coming out. Oh, Fundraiser. Yep. I might play a second or two of it here in a minute. M3RK says, I get the best of both worlds on September 26th. My birthday is also a new SpongeBob. Yep, that is correct. Poke says, wow, you went from BAM teacher to principal. Impressive. Yeah, and honestly, with all the different principals that I've met, not a lot of band directors. I've met a few, but I see far more math teachers, science teachers, and health and PE teachers, like coaches are the biggest ones. I have met a few band directors, but not a ton. And I didn't go from band director straight to principal. There were a few things in between, including being an assistant principal, like I said. Mark Page, how about best day ever recommendations doing Brandon? Best day ever, the episode, it is on the list. It's sort of middle of the way up the list, and that it's based on number of recommendations. Alyssa says, as a kid, I wondered this a lot. Do principals own the school? No, they do not. So the principal works for the school district, and it may seem like that. They do have a lot of control over what happens in the school. They are the leader of the school. They don't own it. The Board of Education owns it. Henry Sullivan says, for some reason, I was timed out at your last live stream. I was just asking you if you heard about what happened with Charlie Kirk, and when I went to type another question, I couldn't ask any reason why. Yeah, I did hear about it. It's very unfortunate. Somebody else said something about it on the last stream because it had happened that day, and all I said was I'm not going to comment on him per se, only to say that it's a horrible, horrendous, unthinkable thing whenever someone has that happen to them right in front of people. It was not good in any sort of way. WG Drummer says, I'm playing a game based on school combat arts. School combat arts. I don't know what that is. I was thinking, I wonder what Brandon would think about this. Okay. Mary Robert, have you ever been to a Comic-Con? I have been to a Comic-Con. One. I'll show you. If I can find it, maybe I'll show it to you up in this window here that you all can't see yet. I may get it ready and then show it to you. There's a great photo I have of myself and the Star Trek star, Jonathan Frakes, if you know who that is, at that particular Comic-Con. It was a great time. And I've lost my chat. Okay, here it is. I gotta find my place again. There it is. So yes, I've been to a Comic-Con, although that was a long time ago. I was actually looking into going to another one this year. It was pretty fun, I'll say that. I got to see Stan Lee. I remember that. I was waiting in line to hear a panel and I was really into Star Trek, and a lot of the stars from that show were there. And I was waiting for a panel for them, and I'm waiting in line. Like, there's this long line that I'm waiting in. And I'm not even that much of a comic or Marvel fan, but I did know who Stan Lee was. And Stan Lee he walked between the line to get wherever he was going, and he walked between me and some other person. He just said, "Oh, excuse me," and he walked past. And then I wasn't sure who it was, and then someone said, "That's Stan Lee. There he is." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess that is him." I did sort of know what he looks like. He has sort of a unmistakable look. So yes, I have been to a Comic-Con. I hope to go again sometime, maybe this year. Stephen Turquoise, high school principal reacts. I just got off my weekday job. I'm so happy you're live streaming. I don't have to take a nap. I've had a great day. You're the best channel ever. I really appreciate it, Stephen. Gabriela says, hi, Rector Brandon. Long time no see, mi amigo. This is Gabby. You go by Gabby. And I remember the Spanish language help you provided last time. I'm glad you're here. Stephen Turquoise says, also, I wanted you to know I wrote a message in the Ned's Discord chat. I will check it out, Stephen. Natster says, Henry Sullivan, are you a teacher? I think he's actually a custodian at a school, which I think is really cool. Gives him a really great perspective on Gordy, for sure. I believe that's the case. And a channel member at that. Okay. And I'm getting way behind. Poke, just curious, does your head feel better without the hair? Well, the thing is, I mean, some of it is just flat out gone, so if I let it grow out, to me, it looks weird, so I keep it really short. So I guess the answer to your question is yes. Blind Guy Production, did you ever have any blind students in any of your schools? Because I'm blind, and I went to a school called Heritage High, and I had to learn Braille. I don't think so. I've had some really seriously vision impaired students, but none that were full-blown blind. I did see a marching band when I was a band director. I went to a marching band competition, and you see all these different bands, and there was a blind student. You may have seen this on YouTube or something, and the blind student played their instrument, and what they did, imagine them playing like this, but they there was another person in the band that had their hand like on their shoulder, and they would just sort of guide them as far as where they were supposed to go. But he was blind, and he was in a marching band. He just was guided by that guy. The second person didn't play anything. He just had his hand on the blind student and was leading him around. And he played and he marched. I thought that was pretty remarkable. Let's see. Alyssa says, another question. Whenever there's a fight at school, why can't you let off with a warning? Because I tried to beg one at school to give my friends a chance who got into one. Yeah, fighting is just really serious. And you really can't let up on that. People talk about zero tolerance. Somebody asked on a stream once, do you have a zero tolerance policy for fighting? And I said, well, what are you going to do? Tolerate it? I mean, you can't exactly say you're fighting, but you know what? We don't have a zero tolerance policy, so we just won't do anything this time. It just doesn't work like that. Fighting is very serious, and people get hurt in fights, so you really can't. Luke Smith, do you have a favorite Muppet? Favorite Muppet? Oh, man. I know them. They're going through my head right now. I don't know. Weren't there like two old guys in like the Muppet Show? These two old men that would like make these corny jokes and talk to each other and say silly things. Maybe they're my favorite. I don't know. It's been a long time. Andrew Rodenbucher, I was in special ed classes my entire life. I was born with a learning disability. Okay, well, you're not alone. There are lots and lots of people, and hopefully you had a good experience with that. Henry Sullivan, yep, he's a school custodian. Sanshi says, are you thinking about reacting to Everybody Hates Chris? Chris, there are a lot of episodes on school days. There's even an episode where he's trapped in school with the principal. That sounds a little interesting. A lot of people do recommend that show, but I haven't done it yet, obviously, but I will eventually. Luke Smith says, at least there's more people today that are more accepting of autism. In the old days, people with severe autism were just thrown in asylums. That is true. If you're talking about, when you said the old days, I thought maybe like 30 years ago, but no, you're talking about like maybe 100 years ago. And now when we talk about people with disabilities, we talk about, if you know anything about IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is a federal law, in there, one of the big principles of that is the least restrictive environment. In other words, the best practice is not to take someone with a disability like autism and just put them off in a separate school. Now, sometimes you have to do that because it's just that severe. But the effort is to keep them in a normal class as much as possible, or not normal, I should say general education classes as much as possible. That's the best practice. They tend to do better in there if they can handle it because of their disability. Bearcat running back. When I was in high school, I barely saw my principal because he was always in his office. Yeah, and that's the best practice, is to be out and about as much as possible. You do have to be in there sometimes, though. Alejandro Gutierrez, channel member. How do you measure the success of your teachers and programs? Ooh, that's a good one. So a lot of it's data and it's observations, basically. You observe teachers constantly. You're constantly going in classrooms and observing them. You are observing their teaching. And then the other is data, especially as it concerns programs like assessment data. People do talk about standardized tests, and I agree they're not the most ideal thing, but they do give you pretty good data as far as how people are doing, and you're not comparing apples to oranges. So observations and data are how you measure the success. Good question, though. That's a top tier question right there. Natster says, everyone also has different types and different levels of autism, so it's hard to cater to all. It is hard to cater to all, but that's exactly what you have to do in special education, as much as you possibly can do. Hank the Tank, the principals at my schools came and went like a revolving door. Is that a normal thing? Sometimes in some places, unfortunately, it is. Is it a good thing? Is it what we want? No. And there are different reasons. People move on because they choose to move on. Some people are let go. Some people are transferred to other schools. It's not good. You want a principal to at least be there for 3, 4, 5 years or more. There is also a thought that you don't want a principal at a school for too long. Like they get there and they're just there forever and you never get any new ideas in there. But you don't want to have a different one every year for sure. Natster says, running back, yeah, that's bad. The principal is supposed to connect to students whenever possible. Yes, true. Stephen Turcoy says, wanted to say thanks for calling me a Ned superfan. That is very true. I love Neds and think it is one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows. Yep. So just prepare yourself. We are getting to the end in December, and we won't have any new Ned's reactions from me. Hank the Tank, I declare the stream started. Yep, Hank's here. Natster says, draw my life. Whoever said that is elite. Yeah, I would love to do that. I don't quite know how yet, or I might have to get some help for the drawing part, but I can do that. Hank the Tank, Now That We're Men was great. Now That We're Men. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. I love the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that part. It's just great. Stephen Turcoy, I wanted you to know that after Ned's ended at Nickelodeon, I remember there were a lot of talks of a high school spinoff, and Ned's actor did want to do it, but all the other cast members wanted to move on. Okay. Hank the Tank, I love the introduction of Dennis as a character. Dennis on the SpongeBob movie. Yep, I remember that. Luke Smith, Alec Baldwin played Dennis. Gabriella says, I thought you were going to say that your favorite part was Sea Plankton get sent to the slammer. No, that one doesn't come to mind. I like the Now That We're Men song, and then the David Hasselhoff. It's just so silly because he's like smiling and he's like going through the water. It's pretty funny. Danjo the Mysterious, autism is a spectrum, true. So it affects people who have it in so many ways. For example, there are some people that lack eye contact, but there are others that make contact just fine. Yeah, it is a spectrum. So you go from not that many symptoms to all the way over to can't talk, can't eat correctly, can't have good mobility, and you're really sort of more disabled, all the way over to you can't even tell they have autism unless you really get to deeply talk to them, and then everywhere in between. Let's see. Sanchi says, what do you think about reacting to George Lopez show? There's a lot of episodes that talk about bullying in school, as well as how he and his son struggle with dyslexia. I'm willing to take a look if it's clean. I don't know anything about that show. Pamela Lynch says, why do they have Cookie on Ned's Declassified, never asking or using the bathroom at school, and then on episodes they have a mask? Good question. I don't know. Natster says, speaking of autism, there's a TV show called Atypical, which goes through the lens of an autistic high school kid who tries to make friends and get a girlfriend. Okay. Brony, fun fact about David Hasselhoff. They use a model of David Hasselhoff for that part, and then after the movie was done shooting, gave it to... Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's not as if he can speed through the water in real life. Fandom Tarek, I live in a country in Europe. Well, I go to school from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., which is not good for my day. Yeah, that would be a little different. I'm curious as to what country you're from. Big Guys 45 says hi there. Joshua says, have you seen the Recess movie School's Out? No, but I plan to because a lot of people recommend it. Hank the Tank says, principals wish they owned the school. I don't know about that. I don't think many principals do say that. I don't know that that's true. Gabriel Hunt says, what made you want to transition from teaching to being a principal? I think it was just wanting to be able to be the one making the decisions or have more of an impact. Sometimes if you're a teacher and you don't agree with something, you think to yourself, well, if I were principal, I would do this. Well, you have to become principal in order to have a greater impact on those things. Okay, Blue Destroyer, can I say a verse from the Bible? The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever. Okay. Thank you. Danjo the Mysterious says, or there are some autistic people that are not fond of loud noises and are sensitive. However, others love the thrill of how loud they are. I say this is part of the spectrum myself. Okay. Kaimani says, would you say the headmaster owns the private school if they're the ones who created it without an organization? I suppose if they created it, then yes, but that's almost never the way it happens. And they probably wouldn't be the principal if they started it. They would be like the founder, or I've even heard some called the CEO or whatever. Typically, you get a principal to sort of run the day-to-day operations of the school and help to grow it and help to improve it. The headmaster is not typically the one that owns it. And in a private school, a lot of times you'll have either a church or another religious organization or a private foundation that owns the school, and they just hire a headmaster to run it. That's what typically happens. Theoretically, I guess you could have that. Big guy, 45s. The U.S. Department of Education do need some fixer-uppers with all due respect, but I'll try to stay positive. Yeah. So, again, I said this on the last stream. The Department of Education doesn't have all that much to do with the day-to-day dealings of a school and what happens. They just provide funding via some very important title programs. So, as far as how good of a reputation a school district has, it's not the U.S. Department of Education, it's individual school districts, and there's some wonderful ones and there's some terrible ones, and everywhere in between is the reality. Natster, does anyone notice Brandon's tab open in the bottom left? Yep, I did that on purpose because I will be, I can't even control it. I will be, this one you mean? So I will be using it a little later in the stream. So stick around and you'll get to see it with me. Otto Munder says there's some school scenes in a show called Stargirl, a DC show. Okay. If you'll let me know in the comment of one of my videos or the comments of one of my videos where to look for that or where to look for a particular episode, let me know. Hank the Tank says, I met Stan Lee at a Comic-Con once. Yep, and you heard my Stan Lee story probably. He walked right past me. I didn't say anything to him. I wasn't really even there for comics and stuff. I was there for all the Star Trek stuff. Okay. My goodness, I'm behind. All right, there I am. Okay, big guy says hard truths. Let's see. Spark Corgi, would you ever do a reaction to SpongeBob Reef Blower? I have, or I will, because a lot of people have recommended it. Natster says, I did meet Kevin James, the actor of Paul Blart. That's pretty cool. Bryant Magoli says, hello, principal. If a student told you they were bullied, would you stop it immediately? Yes, because unfortunately that's happened many times in real life, and I did try to stop it. I did investigate it, try to find out what happens. Not every bullying report is true, but many of them are. Occasionally, you'll get someone that says they were bullied, but really they're the bully. It's all manner of situations, and you have to investigate each one. Mark Page, Brandon, what would you rate squirrel jokes on a scale of 1 to 10? I don't know if I rated that one when I did it, but I vividly remember that. I would say a 9 or a 9.5. That one was really good. Not quite a 10, but almost. Christian, whoa, principal, when are you going to do a playthrough of Zelda Ocarina of Time? A playthrough? I think you're greatly overestimating my video gaming skills. Probably never, but I guess I could play a little bit, but no one has ever asked for that. Kaimani says, which famous person or character from the shows you've watched would you want to meet in real life? I know you answered who you'd work with, but this time you have to choose a different answer. People you'd want to meet in any of the shows, a person or a character. So I guess to answer this, I'll pretend like the characters are like real people. Who would I want to meet? Who would I want to meet? I don't know. Maybe Gordy. Gordy, I need to teach Gordy some things about dealing with students. So maybe Gordy from Ned's. Pamela Lynch says, Marianne from Gilligan's Island told me I should be a model before she passed. Wow, that's impressive. Victim of Fate says, do you have any friends from high school? I do, but I don't get to see them very much anymore. Victim of Fate says, Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, or Pikachu? I don't know. I'm going to go Charmander. I like all of those choices. I'm going to go Charmander on that one. Poke said, you should definitely watch the teacher parts of Everybody Hates Chris. You would definitely have lots to say. The teacher is racist most of the time, but he doesn't know it. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Mr. Knuckles says, what is your favorite holiday? I'm partial to Christmas myself. Christmas Day. Victim of Fate, can you do a Pokemon Let's Play of Fire Red or any game? I could, if people want to see that. The thing is, almost no one has asked for that. Bearcat running back, what is your favorite part of being a principal? Making a positive impact. And actually, that's sort of the canned answer, and it's true. I mean, I do believe that. But also just being able to help people. People turn to you when they're really have a serious issue, and you're in the unique position to be able to help them. Okay, let's see. Henry Sullivan, I am nothing like Gordy, but thank you. Yeah, I didn't say you were like Gordy. I said that you would have an interesting perspective on him, like maybe, okay, Gordy, here's what you should do and here's not. That's sort of what I meant. Blue Destroyer, that blind answer you done. Do you know the blind surfer? I do not. Okay. Poke says, and thank you mods, by the way. Poke says, have you seen Abbott Elementary? I haven't seen it. I've avoided seeing it, because I want to react to it. A lot of people ask me for that. Let's see. Oh, and I lost my chat. I lost the chat. Oh, hold on. All right, got it back. Angelique Backer, does Elmo count as a Muppet? He's my favorite. Yes, I would say so. Alyssa says, that makes sense because my friend got into a fight to defend me, and he ended up kicked off the baseball team. Yeah. And there is an investigation. So I have had people get in fights where one or more parties were innocent. Now, that's very rare. Doesn't usually happen that way, but I've seen it before, and you have to be willing to put in the time to investigate it. Statler and Waldorf. Hank, I see what you're saying. Joseph Roth, a few other people said that. Okay. Kaimani, how would you describe self-defense or classify it, especially in a school setting? Self-defense means that someone attacked you and you had no way of getting out of it. Sometimes people would say it's self-defense when it really isn't. In other words, some people in the past, in things that I've dealt with, would say, well, I didn't throw the first punch, but they planned to meet a person at a certain place to fight them, or they squared up to them and they walked right up to them ready to fight. And they'll say, well, I didn't throw the first punch. Yes, but you made no attempt to tell someone or stop it. So it's basically you getting assaulted pretty much, and you had no way of getting out of it, and you fought them off just long enough to get them away from you, and then you got away, or you told someone, or someone intervened. That's self-defense to me. Hank the Tank, if you could definitely be Statler, the bald old Muppet with the mustache, if you wanted to. That's funny. Sir Goth Nerd, for Christmas, do Skinner Scents of Snow. It's about kids trapped in Springfield Elementary. A lot of people have recommended that. I'm not sure that it's clean. It may not be, but I will add it to the list. Gaming Monkey, have you ever had to suspend or expel a student? I have been in those situations before. I really can't go into it, except to say I have been in those types of situations before, yes, unfortunately. And at a certain point, it's not even about that student. It's about protecting everyone else's safety. So if someone's doing things that aren't safe, people will say, well, my child doesn't, need to be put out of school. It's not good for them. And that's true, but it's also about everyone else's safety that you have to consider. Alyssa says, I, being a level 2 autistic kid, I'm glad to be accepted for who I am because I got bullied. That's good. Yeah, it's always good to be accepted. I'm glad for that. Sir Goth Nerd says, same with blind and deaf. Let them be in the normal class. Schools really try to do that, and under the IDEA law, you really have to try. Now, it's not always feasible. and it's not always good for the student. You don't want someone to get hurt, right? Or you don't want somebody to not quite be able to learn the way that they need to because they don't have what they need in the regular classroom. So we really try, but sometimes it's not possible. Bubbles Hearts Boo. Hi, remember me? I think so, maybe, if you were on a previous stream. Sir Goth Nerd says, can you do bad teacher? Only if it's clean. It doesn't really sound like it, but... Poke says, if a student constantly gets bullied all the time and one day he finally stands up to the bully and hits him, why is it the kid who gets bullied the one who gets in trouble? Well, Poke, it depends on what happens, okay? So the person in your scenario needs to tell someone. And I've had people say, I told the teacher and they didn't do anything. What you do is you keep on going up that chain until you're finally in front of the school board. And somewhere in there, someone's going to act on that. Hopefully the teacher will act, but if not, you can go to the vice principal or the principal or even the superintendent or the school board. Somebody is going to listen to you, preferably the very first person in that process. But if you just don't do that and then you just go haul off and punch someone, that's not good. That's not what you're supposed to do. I've dealt with situations where someone was bullied, and I talked about this in the revenge episode of Ned's Declassified, where someone gets bullied and it's horrible, but then they become the bully. They don't just stand up to the bully. They go a bit too far and they become the bully. So I've seen it happen. You really can't go there and take revenge. You have to tell someone and let the system work for you. And if the system's not working, you got to keep on going up that chain of command until someone helps you. But in most cases, the teacher or one of the administrators is going to act on it because bullying is really, really serious. Back in the day, it wasn't treated with the proper level of sincerity or seriousness, but nowadays it really is. At least more so. Midnight Kitten, as somebody with autism, it was always about the various levels of support during the school. I had teachers, assistants, including into college. That's awesome. Hank the Tank, are you a long-time principal? It depends on what you mean by long time. I was a principal for 4 years and an administrator in other areas for an additional 8, so a total of 12. 4 as the head principal. John Smith says, my autism affects my handwriting. I had to type everything in school. Yep. I've known people like that. Sir Goth Nerd says, I know it's unconventional, but I recommend Darman. It's family-friendly channel. I don't know if it always is. It's sort of edgy, just on the little clips that I've seen, but that doesn't mean that I can't react to some of it. Okay, Sanchi says, will you make your School of Rock reaction free for members? It was a copyright issue, honestly. I forgot who owns it. I don't know if it's Paramount or another company, but it was a copyright issue. That was part of the reason. Alyssa says, do you yell at a lot of students? Because in 7th grade, one yelled at me and almost made me cry. Yeah, you don't yell. You're not supposed to yell. I have talked to teachers who yell, and I said, like, can you really not control your class without yelling? Because if not, we need to talk about some classroom management strategies that we can teach you. And if you can, then just stop. Then just stop yelling. You should never yell at students. Now, I have no issue with holding them accountable for things, but you should not have to yell to do that. If you do have to yell to do that, there's another issue there. Let's see. Sir Goth Nerd, yeah, someone mentioned the adult reboot of Ned. Angelique Backer says, I like the principal at my old school. He was tough on bullying. Yes, and I think more principals nowadays are because of how serious it's gotten over time. Hank the Tank says, reminded me of a school band that played Now That We're Men. That sounds pretty good. Christian Woe says, my freshman year, my principal thought I was an adult posing as a teenager, and she made me go to one of my teachers to prove that I was a student. A few months later, she did it again. No apology. That's pretty funny. I've also had the reverse, where I had some teachers that were they were teachers. They were full-blown teachers, but they were just really young-looking, and so some people weren't sure if they were students or not. Don Joe the Mysterious says, have you ever seen the movie Sky High? It's about a student who goes to school full of other students. I've not seen that, but I've heard people recommend it. Fandom Tarek, if you could, how would you write a principal that is the main character of a show? The principal is always horrible in movies. I'd want to write one that's actually good, like maybe think of all the ones that were up there on my tier list, like Principal Franklin from iCarly, Principal, I forgot his name, from Mean Girls, and Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World was really good. I'd write them like that. Okay, I'm going to do some more messages, and then we're going to see what this window right here is. Okay. Hank the Tank says, makes sense. Alec Baldwin was Dennis. One Dalmatian 1 says, the cast of Ned's does a podcast. And I've said this before. They just cuss all through their podcast. So if they did it like every once in a while, like maybe I could, react to it and edit it out. But they cuss like every single word, and it's really bad. It's really, really bad, some of the stuff that they say, so I can't touch it. DeLuna Art Studio says, my favorite part was when they were trying not to sing Goofy Goober in that bar. That was pretty funny. I forgot about that part. That was pretty funny. Crashy Caddy says, have you played any SpongeBob video games? I haven't. However, people keep asking me to play Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I'm going to have to do that for sure. Galaxy Attack channel member says, hi, residents. I found a season 3, episode 17 called Krabby Land. Okay. I can take a look at it, especially if you put it as a comment in one of my videos. Gabby says, the helmets can't handle this level of rock and roll. What is that from? I can't remember where that is. It's a quote from something. I can't remember. John Smith says, David Hasselhoff loved being in the movie because he says it got him recognized by younger generations. Yeah, that's right. So before that, I guess only older people knew who he was. Good point. Gold League Gamer says, channel member, says, I'll never get to watch Atypical because we closed our Netflix account years ago. Hank the Tank says, and my chat just loaded a bunch of messages, so I have to scroll up and find my place. Sorry. My goodness, it loaded a lot of stuff. Okay. Hank the Tank says, I played SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom more times than I can count. You said planned on playing the game. I would highly recommend playing the PS2 version. I'll have to play whatever's on Steam, if that exists on Steam, or I'll have to get it on a computer. Sir Goth says, I know it might be weird, but have you seen the Arthur episode April 9th? I have not. Turner Winstead says, I want to be a channel member, but I'm just 15 from Tennessee, so I can't pay. I understand. No, you can't mail cash. That's just not a possibility. And I don't, it's not as if I get people's money and then give them the membership. YouTube does all that, so you have to get it through them. Mr. Knuckles, what's your favorite season? At first, I thought you meant like season of a show, but you mean just seasons of the year? That's a toss-up between autumn and winter. I like winter. I think I like winter the best because unless it's really, really, really cold, like last winter in Georgia, it was really cold. It got down into the 20s, which it rarely does. If you live in other places, you might think, well, 20 degrees Fahrenheit is what I mean, which is what would that be, like -5 or something, -10 Celsius. So we're just not used to that kind of cold. I like the winter because it gets cold but not super cold, and all the gnats go away. Gnats are horrible. They get in your eyes, your ears, and they just bother you, and they don't let up, but the cold makes them all go away for the season. So I like winter the best. Quarter says, I recommend reacting to As Told by Ginger. Joseph Roth says, have you ever reacted to Magic School Bus? I haven't, but I really want to. Alexander Art says, do you see younger or older students get in trouble more often? More often. I guess reading your question in a very strict sense, I would say younger students, because of the key word is more often, right? So regardless of the severity of the incident, they just tend to be a bit more spastic, and they're all over the place, and they have energy, and they can't control themselves, and they do get in trouble more often because it's little things most of the time, little things like talking and laughing and running around. Christian, whoa, my nephew is autistic, schizophrenic, and has a little scoliosis. He's 21 and wants to reform school because he thinks it's bad. He's not good at studying or communicating, which frustrates him. Yes, and former superintendent that I had said something that was really good. She said, success looks different for different people, and that's very true. So that doesn't mean that your nephew has to perform at the level that everybody else does necessarily, but you want them to grow from where they're starting from. Joseph Roth says you should react to Magic School Bus. Sir Goth says, do Clueless. I heard it's good. Clueless is a reaction video that you can see right now on this channel, but I would recommend waiting until after the stream. It's one of my earlier videos, so it might be a little rough, but it's there. I actually enjoyed that one. And I recognized recently when I did Chicken Little, the voice actor from one of the characters was the teacher that I talk about a lot in the movie Clueless. I don't know their name. They have a very distinctive voice. Okay. Frost is Real said, what is currently your favorite SpongeBob? That would be Krusty Towers. Henry Sullivan, didn't mean to skip your comment. Hank the Tank, sorry, I didn't know the guy much. I didn't realize it was a big deal. Kaimani Burrell says, the nice thing is, if you like Avatar The Last Airbender and get a few more episodes understanding, then wait till we hit The Legend of Korra. Okay. Alex Gillis says, would you ever want to form a teacher's rap club? That would be fantastic. Oh, man. And I know some teachers that would probably do it, too. Okay. And if you don't know what they're talking about a particular episode of Ned's Declassified where Cookie is sneaking around the school after hours, and he goes into this back room, and there's all these teachers trying to rap, but it's really bad, but they're just saying, we're the teachers. If you're a teacher out there in a school that I've worked with you in real life, I just think that would be funny on some of those groups of teachers that I've worked with doing rap club. That'd be probably even funnier than it was on Ned's, and it was pretty funny on there. Let's see. Sir Goth says, do Mr. Iglesias. Okay. Yisrael Lysenring says, have any of your students told you they've watched your videos? Yeah, not a lot, but that has happened before, yes. Let's see. Mr. Knuckles says, do you rewatch your favorite SpongeBob episodes? Not usually. If I rewatch them, it's either to show someone else something in real life, or a lot of times I'll proofread my videos to make sure everything's the way I want it to be before I release it. Galaxy Attack channel member says, I saw season 3, episode 17, Krabbyland. I think you mentioned that. Mark Page says, but Brandon, SpongeBob TBA is on October 3rd. What do you mean by TBA? I'll tell you what it is. I don't mind doing that because you took time to come on my stream. October 3rd is Neptune's Spatula is what it is. Larry Jester, channel member, says, Brandon gives Gordy advice. Gordy replies, I'll let the night guy handle it. Yeah. And I mentioned that some schools that I've worked at did have a night guy, but they didn't work like overnight. That would work from like maybe 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., something like that, which the advantage there is you have somebody that can clean up when no one's there, because it's pretty hard to clean up after people when they're still walking around doing stuff. H. Crayert, I don't know enough about what you're talking about to answer the question. Sorry. Natster says, Hank, do they have SpongeBob Battle Bikini Bottom? Okay, you're asking Hank. Joseph Roth says, do you like Halloween since it's coming up next month? I'm not the biggest fan of Halloween. I don't really get super into Halloween. I do like the holidays in general, during the winter months, particularly Christmas. Angelique Backer says, yes, please play a game on your channel. Thursday, I'm going to try to do another live stream. I may play some Stanley Parable or another one, but I may play some Stanley Parable. H. Crayert says, I second a Pokemon Let's Play. Okay. Victim of Fate, saluting emoji. Midnight Kitten says, I can second. I would enjoy watching you play one of the Pokemon games. Larry Jester says, a playthrough through a Pokemon would be awesome. Okay, well, I'll have to do it if a lot of people recommend it. Quarter says, would you do more Hey Arnold? I will. I just haven't done it in a while. Victim of Fate says, petition for Pokemon Let's Play will help you download an emulator. I think I may have one. I haven't looked at it in a long, long time. If you're on the Discord, maybe you can help me with that. Sir Goth Nerd says, watch an episode of Smart Guy where students get accused of ruining a classroom, similar to Drake and Josh trial episode. Okay. Yeah, if you can get me the name of that one, that would help. And put it in a comment. Undertaker Lover says, do you have a favorite horror movie, monster, and or being? Favorite horror movie? I'm not that much into the horror genre. I don't know. Haven't seen enough to even have one. H. Crayer, do you ever relate to Squidward? Sometimes. Mr. Knuckles, do you like McDonald's? I do. But the thing about McDonald's is if you look at their menu, it's basically only like 3 things. Variations on like 3 different things. So if I haven't had McDonald's in a really long time and I want a burger, I will get McDonald's. And it's good. There's nothing wrong with McDonald's necessarily. They're consistent. They're fairly inexpensive, not as much as they used to be. But they're like, you can have a burger, you can have chicken, or you can have a fish sandwich. That's pretty much it. Variations on those 3 things, and fries if you count that. So I just get tired of it. So I haven't eaten McDonald's in a long time. Sir Goth says, I prefer Arby's. Haven't had that in a minute. WG Drummer says, which do you like better, SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents? I would say SpongeBob. I'm going to have to start skipping stuff. I'm very sorry. So make your questions interesting and intriguing. Barry Boyce, have you ever considered reacting to Bob's Burgers? Yeah, just not a lot of people recommended it, and I'm not sure it's clean. If it's not clean, I can't do it. Hank the Tank, has any piece of media made you cry on the channel or not? I'm sure it has. Not often, but yeah. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Soundmaster Blink says, one of my one vice principal started off as a social studies teacher, became the vice principal, then the tech director, and now he's the school superintendent. That's pretty good. Sir Goth Nerd says, yes, I want him to do Bob's Burgers. Do I train any martial arts? No, I don't. Did I have a band back in the day? I did play with some little jazz groups, and I do have some video of that. Maybe I can show at some point in time. The Victim of Fate, do you know how to skate? I do, just not very good, but yes, I can. Mr. Knuckles, have you ever caught COVID? I did get COVID. It wasn't too bad, though. But yes. Hank the Tank, have you ever watched Breakfast Club? I've not. People say it's not clean. If it's not clean, I can't watch it. Sir Goth Nerd says, I don't know what my principal started as. He was a very private person. Okay. Victim of Fate, who was your idol growing up? Didn't really have one. Sarah Martinez says, hello. Nice to see you, Sarah. Sir Goth Nerd says, do you ever have to deal with kids keep calling teachers by their first name? Not unless they gave them permission. I have been at schools where the tradition or the culture was to say like Miss Mary or Miss, whatever their first name was, they would say Mr. or Miss before it instead of the last name. I have been at a school like that before. Evan Rossman says, hi. Hank the Tank says, you might really like Cobra Kai. Amy Mullen says, I got this name on sale. It was $4 plus tax. You should try it. Or this game. Sorry, not this name. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Victim of Fate, day in the life of Mr. Principal. You know, people have said, can you do a day in the life? And I can't, but I might do. I thought the other day about doing a satire of it. I've seen other channels do, like, this is a day in the life of a whatever it is, and it's sort of a poking fun at it. I wouldn't be able to do a real one, like where I was really at a school and really doing things due to privacy, but maybe I could do a little funny video. Hank the Tank, if you had to be a position at school, it wasn't music teacher or principal, what would you want it to be? Spanish teacher. That's what I would do. Miss T, hello. We are listening to you on our walk, and I know you made that comment a while ago. I don't know if you're still on your walk, but I'm glad you're here on the stream. Sir Goth Nerd says there was a short-lived School of Rock TV show on Nick. Okay. Kaimani says, I wish it was like that when I grew up. You can ask for help. Where I'm from, you had to defend yourself or fight, otherwise end up in the hospital. And if you tell, you're in the hospital beaten. Yeah, and there are places like that, unfortunately. But nowadays, most schools here in the U.S. Do a pretty good job with that. Hank the Tank, Paramount rears its ugly head again. Yes. Dan Joe the Mysterious says, and I've seen people posting online, they want to bring back bullying. Yeah, that's horrible. And even just saying that, depending on why they're saying it and who they're saying it to, could be considered bullying in and of itself. So you really have to be careful. I've said to so many people, like, you can't just say whatever you want online. That's called cyberbullying. You really have to be careful what you say. People, especially younger kids, think, well, if I just say it online, doesn't really matter. It's not the case at all. Bubbles Hearts Boo says, I'm enjoying my food and special drink. It's green tea. Sounds very healthy and delicious. Victim of Fate, can you play Super Mario 64 sometime in the future? That would be great. I loved Super Mario 64. That was really good. Kaimani Burrell says, I've never fought anyone. Taekwondo taught me the discipline to defend myself and show restraint. Yep. Shinobi Blade Productions says, you should play Bully. I can't. It's just too bad of a game. Sam Cook says, how many principals come from backgrounds other than classroom teachers like guidance counselors or librarians? I don't know if I've seen that before. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Now, theoretically, you could. So as long as you have the appropriate certification of educational leadership, you technically can be hired as a principal. However, people are going to want people who have experience in the classroom. I've never seen it before. Theoretically, it could happen, but I've never seen it before. And a lot of people who are librarians or media specialists or counselors, they don't really have an interest in it. Right? So they love what they do already. So I've just never seen it before. I'm starting to get out of breath here. Victim of Fate, do you have any pets? I have a bearded dragon. I'll show him to you someday. Let's see. I'm going to have to skip some messages or this stream was going to go on forever. We're already over an hour, which is fine. But I'm getting more and more behind. And my chat just loaded some more messages. Oh my goodness. I'm way behind. I didn't realize how behind I was. I'm going to have to skip some messages. I'm very sorry if I skip yours. Okay. Victim of Fate, what is your dream state or country to live in? I am very happy to live in the United States. I think I'm very lucky to have been born here and have the opportunity to live here. However, I think that I would. There's a few of them. I wouldn't mind living in Japan for sure. There are some people on this stream right now who live in Japan. Spain. I wouldn't mind living in Spain. Also, one of the Nordic or Scandinavian countries. Wouldn't mind that either. All of those. Victim of Fate. Can you play Minecraft? Yes, I can. I'm going to have to skip some. Quarter, the School Principal Reacts channel. I'll give you the short version. So I was watching reaction videos one day, lawyer reactions, doctor reactions, pilot reactions, and I said, let's find some principal reactions. Let's search for it, and it didn't exist. So that's when I got the idea for it. John, I have seen Saved by the Bell, and I plan on doing that someday, the original. Christian Woe, Lean on Me is something a lot of people have been asking for lately, including maybe you in the comments. I do plan to do that. Nintendrovert says he met the actors behind Ned Mose and Cookie. He also met Drake Bell and some of the Full House cast. That's really cool. Yeah, they tend to go all together as a group. Let's see. Gold Glee Gamer. The helmets can't handle this level of rock and roll. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is from the SpongeBob movie. Midnight Kitten said the same thing. Scrolling through some chats. I can't read them all. I'll just never get through them if I do. Sir Goth Ned says, what teacher, and I just lost my chat. Hold on. I accidentally clicked out of it. Hold on. There's my chat. Got it back. Sir Goth Nerd 2, what teacher from TV shows would you hate having working at your school? Teachers. Crocker from Fairly Odd Parents. I would hate that. I would hate, what other one? Oh, man. Crocker for sure. Mr., what's his name? From iCarly. Mr. Howard was pretty bad. Those two come to mind. Larry Jester, channel member. Which random cartoon characters from cartoons you reviewed do you think could make up a good band? That's kind of a big question. The one that comes to mind, if you saw my reaction to the Bal Jeetles from Phineas and Ferb, that was a pretty good one. I enjoyed that. Midnight Kitten, Battle for Bikini Bottom was originally on PS2 and GameCube, but put out on Steam. So if it's on Steam, I can definitely do it. Bubbles Hearts Boo, my favorite season is summer because it means camp. Poke, it looks like you're in the teacher's lounge. No, not exactly. Skipping some. Dan Joe the Mysterious says, I agree with you on the gnats principle. They get all over your face and skin. It's so annoying. I've been there, and I used to ride my bike from school to my house. Yeah, it's awful. I hate the gnats, and so that's why I like winter so much, because it makes them go away. That and the mosquitoes can be pretty bad. All right. Powerpuff U says, what Neds is it called tomorrow? I should know this. Isn't it fundraising? It's fundraising, right? Yes, it is. Fundraising. Let's see. Alex Garcia, I see that you like shows that are a little more grounded, so you should do Abbott Elementary. It's more about the teachers. Okay, I plan to. Hank the Tank, outside of specific Avatar episodes, I would highly recommend watching that show all the way through. Gabby says, I have two recommendations, Plankton versus Crabs and Big Birthday Blowout. So I think both of those are on my list. I'm looking on my phone real quick. It's hard to even look because my list at this point in time is massive. I think the Big Birthday Blowout has a lot of recommendations, but I also know it's a standalone episode, I think. So I have to... It's tricky to do those because of copyright, because they tend to give me a harder time on those. Let's see. Sorry if I skip your comment. Hank the Tank says, now that I'm on a roll, what members-only content would you recommend I watch? I already watched the whole SpongeBob movie reaction. And I don't know this. I think you can go to like a tab where it gives you all the members-only stuff like in one spot. So there's School of Rock. You've got 4 parts of School of Rock. You've got, I think there's like Power Rangers and a reaction to Naruto, maybe. There's several. I forgot them all because I've done them over time that are members only. Let's see. Larry Jester, channel member, says my band would be Brock from Pokemon, Hank from King of the Hill. That'd be funny. SpongeBob on guitar, Patty from Doug, Homer, and then Pookie. I bet if you had a good enough AI program, you could make that. That would be pretty epic. That'd be pretty good. Okay, Hank the Tank says he loves Stanley Parable. I'm going to try to make that happen again. Let's see. Thank you, Hank, for modding. Mark Page says Big Pink Loser comes out on the 21st for members only. It comes out on the 26th for the rest of us. And it's from season 2. You know what this means? I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I'm sure you'll tell me. Sir Goth Nerd says, I would feel having Krubs as your VP. You know, I think I gave him C tier. I've seen some episodes where he actually does a really good job and some where he's terrible. It just depends on what he's doing at the time. Let's see. I'm going to have to skip some. I'm very sorry if I skip yours. Let's see. Henry Sullivan, McDonald's is okay, but I prefer Wendy's. Wendy's is pretty good. Do they still have the chili? Like, that was the whole thing with Wendy's. You could get the little bowl of chili, which you can't at most fast food restaurants. H. Crayert, why couldn't the 11-year-old get into the pirate movie? Is this a joke? I'm not sure what this is. Is this a serious question? Hank the Tank would highly recommend watching Whiplash in your spare time. I think I remember you saying that. And Breakfast Club. Yisserol Lissering says, have you ever been in a situation where it was shown the teacher really was the problem and not just the teacher is out to get me? Yeah. Not that the teacher was like setting deliberate traps, but they were just too harsh. And it's almost like they weren't exactly setting the student up, but almost. That doesn't happen very often. 9 times out of 10, it's the other way around. But I have seen it happen before. Let's see. Scrolling down. And my chat just loaded a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. Sir Goth Ned says, I could draw my life, meaning me. I would have to get somebody to help me for sure. Mr. Knuckles says, what's your thoughts on 2025 so far? It's okay. There's still a lot of 2025 to go, and I think it will probably end better than it began. It's been all right. Sir Goth, how did your school district do COVID? Did they do Zoom only, or how my high school did? So during COVID, I worked for a different school district than I do now or even did recently. So during COVID, yes, they did. There for a period of time, everybody was at home, even the teachers. I was an assistant principal at that time. And then they did it where you could come back if you really wanted to. Not many people did, but some people did. And then eventually they made everyone come back. But it took a long time before that happened. But yes, they were virtual for a long time, meaning everybody's at their own house, which was pretty hard to do. Hank the Tank, yep, I'll go for a little longer. I'm not ready to wrap up yet, but thank you. My voice is getting a little raspy, though. Calvin Bostian says, I remember I said something mean to one of my bullies in the 6th grade. Felt really bad about it, but ended up getting suspended for it. Yeah, I mean, depending on what you said, and you probably shouldn't tell me what you said, but yes, that can happen. Hank the Tank says Nordic countries are great. Smooth Jazz at Bikini Bottom. Hensel Holtz. Let's see. I'm scrolling down, and I want to play you some things in this video. Whoop, wrong one. And this one right here. I want to get to that. Okay. Powerpuff says Principal Warts or Vice Principal Krubs. Who is better? I would say Krubs is better. He's not perfect, but he's better than Warts is. Gabriella says, in the French narrator voice, once again, Monsieur Principal Brandon loses his place. Yeah, And I'm getting better at streaming. Streaming is still a relatively new thing for me. For a long, long time, I would just pre-record videos, which is still kind of my main thing. I wouldn't consider myself a streamer primarily. But what happens is it'll lag, and then it loads a whole bunch of chats at once, and then I lose my spot if I'm not actively holding down the scroll bar. Let's see. Nintendrovert, who are some YouTubers you'd like to collaborate with? Very recently, I did a collaboration with Julia Boateng. You can see the video. There's a link to the video in a community post that I put out there. Just skip to the community post and scroll down if you want to see it. I really enjoyed that collaboration. Hank the Tank. This stream. The French narrator voice. Let's see. Sir Goth says, well, there's a teacher in Former Reacts channel. I've reached out to some people, and there was a teacher that I was planning on collaborating with, but it's tough to find one that has a channel of similar size or similar focus. There's a lot of teachers on YouTube that do YouTube because of their real life class, not really for entertainment. And then there's a lot of them that are for entertainment but have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they're just simply not interested. So I'd have to find someone that had a similar subscriber count, probably. Okay. Gold X05, I have reacted to Sandy's Rocket. It is currently being edited, or it's waiting to be edited. I've got several things being edited right now. It'll probably be like a month, 4 to 6 weeks before you'll see that one. Friend or Foe, I think I reacted to that one early on. Powerpuff U. Go back on my channel, look at my SpongeBob playlist, and you'll probably find it. That was about crabs and plankton, if memory serves. Mr. Knuckles, what would you do if your YouTube channel gets terminated? I would be very sad. So you know what? I don't do things that would get my YouTube channel terminated. So... WG Drummer, as a principal, do you think if a school is wearing a shirt from another school, they get in trouble or suspended? No. In fact, I've seen that before. Most of the time, they don't mean anything mean by it. It's just from the school that they used to go to, and they just, they want to wear that shirt. I've never heard of anybody having an issue with that. Let's see. Sir Goth Nerd, Young Sheldon. I have some comments, concerns about that. Yeah, it was rated R. I knew that was probably a joke. And there's the punchline. That's kind of gross. Ryan Skolman says, hey, Brandon. Danny Gonzalez says, how are you? I'm doing fine. Hank the Tank, have you ever traveled outside the country or state? And if so, have you enjoyed it? Yes. Well, I've traveled outside of Georgia many, many, many times. Georgia is a big place, but it's not that big of a place. Outside the U.S., I have been to the Bahamas. Let's do it in order. I've been to the Dominican Republic 2 times, then to the Bahamas, and then to Dominican Republic, Hungary, the Bahamas, Germany, and I believe that's it. So not a ton of places, but a few. Okay, let's see. Sir Goth, have you ever had a problem of a teacher being Leninate? Leninate? Is that what that says? Like Principal Franklin? I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. Victim of Fate, do you believe in aliens, ghosts, or zombie apocalypse? No, I do not. Hank the Tank, do you consider yourself an optimist? Yeah, I think you kind of have to be. I mean, it's tough sometimes, but I think you kind of have to be. And I mean that if you want to better your experience, it helps. It helps to try to do that. Sometimes it's harder than others. Henry Sullivan says, yeah, they still have chili. I still remember the SpongeBob meal video. Yeah, it's still there. You can still see it. There's one teacher that I used to work with at the time that I did that Wendy's video, and he was like the only teacher that knew about my channel, and he's on YouTube too. He doesn't make videos anymore, but there are a few videos of him, and he said, are you going to start doing the whole mukbang thing where you just eat? And I said, no, probably not. I just wanted to try the SpongeBob meal. M3RK, I will show this in a minute, what you're talking about, if I can get through the chat messages. Goodness, I may just have to stop. Hank the Tank, what's the best thing you've gotten out of this channel, in your opinion? Honestly, it's the viewer interaction. It's stuff like this, reading people's comments, people telling me how they watch my videos and how it adds to their well-being or just having fun listening to it. I've had people tell me that their videos or my videos calmed them down, help them with stress, help them get through their day. They watch it while they eat their meal. All those things are very rewarding. Danny Garcia, 14MC, channel member. Hi, Brandon. I don't know if anyone has asked since I've known you are much into music. Do you have any favorite artists or bands? Are you more into playing instruments? I'm into both. I do like jazz quite a bit. I also like electronic dance music, believe it or not. More listening to it, not so much dancing to it. I like to go on walks or do like power walks, walk really fast with my Raycon earbuds to music like that. Calvin Bastian, thanks for saying my last name correctly. No problem. Turner Winstead, what are you reacting to next week? I will tell you, since you made the effort to come to the live stream. Next week, looking on my phone here is what I'm doing. So you already know this week. It's on my community post. Next week, Ned's competition. SpongeBob will be Big Pink Loser. And then Avatar will be Bitter Work, thanks to Kaimani Burrell. I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like because I want to get your opinion on the new editing style. And Kaimani, I have a surprise for him if he's still here. Principal's level or principal's office level member. I only have 2 of those. He's one of them. Okay. Gabriella says, no worries. I was trying to make me a joke because the French narrator is an inside joke with my family. Sometimes my mom be doing something and I say 2 hours later. That's pretty funny. I wonder, does she get mad or does she, take it in stride and laugh? That's pretty funny. Sir Goth and Ed says, do Malcolm in the Middle. Hensel Holt says, Young Sheldon is a dirty show. Yeah, see, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm just not going to be able to do it. And I feel bad because there was someone a couple streams ago that kept donating to the channel and giving money and asking about that. I didn't promise him I would do it. I promised him I would take a look at it, meaning see if I can do it. And I still, I'm going to still see if I can find a clean episode, but if not, it's not going to work. Gold X05, what part of Georgia are you from? I'm not going to dox myself, but I do know where Gwinnett County is. Gwinnett County is, I believe, it's the most populated county in Georgia of the 159 counties. Get this, I heard this statistic. 20% of all school-age children in the state of Georgia attend Gwinnett County schools. It's that huge. Gwinnett County is enormous. And if you don't know where that is, it's on the north end of Atlanta. Let's see. And it skipped again. I have to find my place. Gabriella's going to make fun of me here. Where is it? Okay, found it. Sargoth Nerd, true. In my 6th grade class, we went on a 3-day trip out of state to Wisconsin. Okay. Hank the Tank, were those trips outside the U.S. for vacations or because you had business to do there? The Dominican Republic one was to help translate into Spanish for a group that was going. What was next? Hungary was a school trip. So I was a senior in college at the time, and I have some pictures from that I can share at another time. the school paid for 3 of us to go, and I got in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for this. We performed at one of the big music schools there. It was part of some sort of cultural exchange program, and we got to spend a week in Budapest, Hungary. The Bahamas was vacation, and what was the other one? Germany was sort of work-related, sort of vacation. There's a private tour company that does educational tours that paid for me to go there for a week with a bunch of administrators from across the U.S. All of them were very enjoyable in different ways. Okay, let me find the chat, my place in the chat again. There it is. Kaimani says, have you ever tried experimenting uploading a video edited but full little cuts in the video for members and regular edited to general, like different versions? It would just be really hard to do. Sometimes I feel that it's tough to just keep up with 3 times a week uploading. So no, I have not, but maybe in the future I can do that. Turner Winstead, have you seen the school scenes to Child's Play 2? I have not. School Goth Nerd said, Sir Goth Nerd said lenient. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know what you meant. And now I don't know what the question was. Sorry. Nintendrovert, do you have a Nintendo Switch? No. Handheld games. I remember, just because I'm a lot older than a lot of people on this stream, I remember the whole Tiger LCD video game with the black and white screen. And then you had your normal Game Boy, which I did not have. I think I had a, what was it called? Nintendo. It was one of the first color screen ones. Game Boy Advance, I think it was what it's called. I did have one of those. I don't have a Nintendo Switch, though. Hank the Tank says, we've discussed the school subject you were best at, but what school subjects have you feel like you've never gotten the hang of? I was never great with literature, at least when I was in school. I just didn't do well at it for whatever reason. Mr. Knuckles, have you ever been to Ohio? I have been to Ohio once, not all that long ago. I think it was maybe 4 years ago. I flew into Cincinnati, and there's this thing they have just outside of Ohio called the Ark Encounter. It's, if you know what Noah's Ark is, it's a scale model of the Ark itself. It's enormous. If you ever get to go, I highly recommend it. But I did go to Ohio for that. It's just outside of Cincinnati. Let's see. Kaimani, this is a great live stream, but I bet everyone is anticipating the reveal. I will get to it in just a moment. Let's see. I'm going to have to skip a bunch, or else I'll never get to it, to Kaimani's point. Kaimani says, this is a super random question. Would you rather go skydiving or bungee jumping? I've been skydiving, and it was genuinely fun. I would have to say skydiving. It just seems way less scary. Because a lot of times with skydiving, you're either going to have a lot of training or you're going to have an instructor who actually like pulls the chute for you and everything. Bungee jumping seems way more dangerous. So I would say skydiving. Okay. Hank the Tank, who would you say is your favorite stand-up comedian? I forgot that guy's name. What's his name? The clean comedian. I forgot his name. Jim Gaffigan's pretty funny, although he's relatively clean, not always. What's that? I see all their faces, but I can't remember their names. Brian Regan's pretty funny, or at least his older stuff was funny. Is it Nick Bargatze? Is that his name? He's pretty funny, and he's clean. Let's see. H. Crayert, what's the point of living alone? Living for someone who's alone, lacks the inherent ability to make connections, and has nothing to... I think that's more of a point of view thing. There's always something to live for most people. You just have to find it. Kaimani, I'm still here and excited. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here, or else I'll just never do it. And I'm going to show you a couple of things. So let's see. Let me see if I can do this correctly. So what I want to ask about, and I will come back to the chat. I'm not looking at it right now, but I'll come back to it. Let me test the sound here. Okay, if you heard that, I think it's working, and you all should be able to hear the sound in my browser. So what I want to do is ask you, and I hope I can do this. I'm going to pull myself over here, and this will be good practice for me, and I'm going to pull over here. Let's see if I can do it without, I don't know if this, I'm going to have to make this one a little smaller. And I'm going to move the chat. I'll just put it over here for now. You all should be able to see this window now, right? Move it over. That's pretty good. And then I'll move myself over a little bit so you can still kind of see me. All right, so what I'm asking about is the editing style. So we're going to compare a few things. So let's talk about Ned's Declassified. So one of the biggest things, I'd have different people edit for me. I still do some Ned's Declassified, but the potential firings. So I want to ask you. So some people say they like the old style of my videos, and some people say they like the new style. So, and you're not going to hurt my feelings either way, because I'm not doing the editing in most cases. You're not going to hurt my feelings either way. So here is, and I'm going to try to maybe pull the chat up here where I can sort of still see it. You guys are telling me that you see it and you hear it. Okay. Maybe I can watch the chat at the same time. Again, I'm sort of a novice streamer still. Okay, so let's look at this. This is what a potential firing would look like, and you guys have already seen this video, although I'm going to play some clips that you all haven't seen yet. Let's watch. Starting right now. At first, I did see that, and I was like, what is he doing with that circuit breaker box or whatever that? Yeah, so obviously that's what a potential firing looks like on the old editing style. I just sort of, and this one it looks like I myself edited. That's where I usually put the potential firings, up here in the top right with the little ding sound. That looks like a Brandon edit. And I want you to see this. This is something, where's my chat? Oh, I lost my chat. There it is. Okay, now I want you to see this. What some of my new editors have done with this. Yeah, her throwing him like that, probably a potential firing. Now, would she be fired for that? Maybe, maybe not. If someone got hit in the head or something. All right, so you saw that. Any suggestions? Is you like the old way, the new way? Anything you want me to tell the editors to do for the new version? I sort of like the way they bring her out, you know. I don't know if the buzzer is like too much or too loud or whatever. If you want to see that again, I'll show it to you. Something like, now would she be? Yeah, her throwing him like that, probably a potential firing. Now, would she be fired for that? Maybe, maybe not. If someone got hit in the head or something like. So what y'all think? Let me go back to the chat. What'd y'all say about it? All right, so nice job. That looks smooth. I like the old way. I enjoyed the old sound. I don't see the difference. Reminds me of Legal Eagle. I like the new way, old way. Old way, please. Buzzer is way too loud. Okay, all right. I'm still reading the feedback. One other option would be maybe I have them do like the animation for the new way, but then the old sound effect. I did think the buzzer was a little loud. I liked the animation where they sort of kind of brought her over, and it said like potential firing. I'm not crazy about the buzzer also. So I may tell them to, hey, let's change the sound. Kaimani said, or let's see, Nintendrovert says old way. Yisserol says old way. The buzzer is way too loud. Gabriella says she personally prefers the first one. Kaimani says the old way, the ding and not covering the whole screen was nice. The new way was nice and modern, but old way for me. Hank the Tank says both are good. I would say the earlier version's funnier. Miss T says new way with the ding and not a buzzer. Gabriella says the first one seems funnier. Both are great. And JJ Zone says new way. M3RK says I honestly like the new way, but a buzzer will be annoying after a while. Can I do a poll? I'm not good with the polls yet. I'll probably end up messing it up. So what I may ask them to do is see if they can change the way that they're doing it. And you know what? Even if I don't edit it, I can always tell them to do it the way that I used to do it. And they'll do that. They'll do whatever I ask them to do. So, Nintendrovert, I don't know if I like your face being in a little circle. Yeah, I've had someone else say that. I've had mixed opinions on it. Gabriella says, what if we combine both? That's sort of what I'm thinking, or just experimenting around with it. And at first, at least just changing the sound. That buzzer was a little much. Sir Goth Nerd is saying combine. Okay, so let's go on to something else. I want to show you a few things. All right, so same thing, but with SpongeBob, right? So here's the old version of SpongeBob Bubble Stand, which you've already seen, I think. He's going to explain what he's doing here. Not sure where we're going with this here. Squidward.
Can we lower the volume, please?
All right. So nothing really special to show you. That's, the way they're currently edited. Kind of the old way. The new way is, again, like this. And you can see here, this is actually next week, so you get a little bit of a preview.
But it was definitely about the salty spittoon. It was where he wanted to be real tough. Hopefully this guy doesn't take too much offense here.
I got him from me mother.
Blue eyes? Everybody knows my green eyes and I'm
What?
beautiful.
What in the world?
Yeah, what in the world is right. Certain parts of that episode were crazy. So, it's kind of the same thing. I'm sort of torn on it. And I'll show you this avatar in just a minute. I am sort of torn on it. Let's see what you all thought. Let's see. So Kaimani says maybe make the character a little smaller. Hensel Holt says I don't like the circle cam. Gabriella says I personally think a combination would be stellar. Sir Cashpin Music says I've seen this video, LOL. Quarter says maybe the rectangle isn't needed. What if you just kept the banner with your name and face and put it above your cam? Okay, and I think it's lagging a little bit. I know you guys have probably already written feedback. Nintendrovert, I like where you take up more screen space instead of having so much empty space where the background is just blurred out. Okay. Miss T says, I don't like the face circle. It feels impersonal. I like the old way. Old feels nostalgic. See, here's my thing though. If you don't like the old way because it's not, if you like the old way because it's better in certain aspects, I'm fine with it. But part of it also is nostalgia, which only works if you've been watching the channel for a long time. New viewers won't care, right? It's just whatever looks better. Okay, let me read a few more. JJ Zone, I like the face circle. Sir Golf Nerd, yes, more screen face. Hank the Tank, feels like we're hanging out without the circle. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is tomorrow I'm going to give your feedback to the editors. The feedback will be, no more buzzer for the potential firings. I'll try and get them to do the ding sound. And then I'll get them to change it where even if they have a circle or maybe make it just bigger where you can see more of the background and things, I'll tell them that, so they'll change it. Okay, one other thing. This is another example of the new style, and it's the same thing. There's not really any surprises here. This is Bitter Work, which is not out yet.
Oof. How did he not get hurt by that? Goodness. Oof. I was afraid he was going to get killed there by that little stunt. Oof.
Yeah.
Saka?
So this is This video is not as long. It's Avatar Bitter Work, if I can talk. This one was suggested by Kaimani Burrell. Really, this episode exists only because of him, Principal's office level member. I'm going to do something different. Kaimani, what I'm going to do, I think I can do this. I'm going to make this video, I'll do it right after the stream, available to Principal's office level members, because I think there's only 2, including you, and you are the reason that this episode exists. So after the stream, I'm going to open it up just for you, so you can go ahead and watch it if you want and let me know what you think about it. And then everybody else will get it on their regular schedule. Honor roll members will get it at the regular time when they get it early, and then everybody else will get it next week. I think it's next Saturday. So I'll let you, I think I can do that. That'll give me a chance to experiment with some of the YouTube controls. So yep, Kaimani, you will get this video is really because you suggested it. So let's be real. So we'll consider that a Principal's office level perk there. I'm reading some of the other feedback on the style. So let's see. The transitions. Hank the Tank mentions the transitions. So I did notice that I was going to show you. Let's see. Was it this one?
This one is called...
Okay. Yeah, they do some pretty neat transitions. Like, watch this. Watch this.
Action to it. This one is called Fundraising, and I clicked on a random spot in this episode.
You see that? It does look very clean, so I do like some of the things that they're doing for me, but they do it really however I ask them to do it. So I didn't give them a lot. I just showed them what the potential firings counter was and what to really listen for, to know what to do. I didn't tell them how to do it. That's just what they came up with. So I like visually how it looks, but I'll get them to do more of a firings counter like you all are used to, with the sound and with a graphic that's maybe a little more like what you all are used to. Whew. Okay, well, I'm going to move this back over. I'm going to move myself back over. There I am. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more chat, and then how long have we been? An hour and 46 minutes. Wow. No wonder it's getting harder and harder to talk here. So I'm going to read a few more chat messages, and then I will stop. But I will give the editors that feedback tomorrow. I could probably do it tonight because they're not in the same time zone as I am. I'll give it to them either tonight or tomorrow. So I will tell them about the potential firings counter, ask them to do it a little differently, and then also this, I guess it would be over here, the circle. I'll have them either get rid of the circle or make it bigger so it's not as much of a little circle there. Okay. Let's see. Nintendrovert, is there a way to crop out the black bars for when you're reacting to shows with a 4:3 ratio? I have to take a look and see kind of what you mean. Hank the Tank said, we do appreciate the visual editing for the transitions. Shout out to them for that. Yeah, I think they did a good job. It's just, I've had a new editor several times, and you just sort of have to, you give them some guidance, but you just see what they can do, right? And so far, these guys have been pretty good. They will do whatever I ask them to do, so I just have to tell them how to change it up. Miss T says, no circle, you need a rectangle. Gabby says, agreed, Hank the Tank. Sir Goth Nerd says, I didn't know what, I didn't see the difference until you pointed it out. Kaimani says, yay to me. And I'll do that in just a second, and you'll get the video and you can watch it. Kaimani. Mark Page, can you try to show a preview of Big Pink Loser if you got it? I do have that one, but I didn't plan on it. It would take me a minute to go find it. And I'm getting tired. Let's see. Nintendrovert, if you ever do react to all of Avatar, would you rewatch the ones you've already reacted to? I don't know. Sir Goth, wish I had the money for principal's level office or honor roll. Yeah. So I try to do as much as possible. Most of my videos are for all people. It's just honor roll. There are some members only videos, and they do get all of them early as a perk. Hank the Tank says, just keep the Bing and sudden counter seems like what the chat wants. Okay. Or I can have them, we can experiment. I'll tell them to tone down the buzzer for sure. That I don't like the buzzer so much. And I'll have them do maybe somewhere in between until we get to what we like. Kaimani says, transitions looking sharp and clean. Indeed, it's a yes for me. Hank the Tank, that with the animation would be good if that's not asking too much. Yeah, we'll do a compromise. Let's see. I'm a fangirl. Just bought an honor roll membership, looks like. Thank you. I'm a fangirl. I really appreciate it. I don't think you'll regret it. So now you have access to a whole bunch of videos that you didn't have access to before. I'm a fangirl. You have a whole bunch of them. School of Rock. You have Power Rangers. There's a few that I'm quite certain I've forgotten about. This has been a while. And you also have access to all of this week's videos right now. You can binge watch them all if you want to. Thank you for being an honor roll member. What else? Are we to the end of the chat now? JJ Zone, have you ever had a student pull the fire alarm? I have. It doesn't happen a whole lot intentionally, believe it or not. And that may be because it's just really, really easy to catch the person doing it, because in schools nowadays, there's cameras everywhere, just about everywhere except for the bathroom, for obvious reasons. And there's a lot of them that are pointed like right at the fire alarm. So it's going to be really obvious if you press it, if you pull it. Sure, Cashapin, the older version just feels like YouTube, where videos were not as much edited. It's not you, it's just modern YouTube. Yeah, you're right. I guess. I mean, I want it to look good, but I also want to incorporate viewer feedback. Sir Goth Nerd, I know some YouTube changes were dumb, like removing dislikes. Didn't they bring them back? I think you can dislike a video. Well, I have a video right here. Can you dislike it? Yeah, you can dislike it. Right there. I'm looking at the screen here, or the window right here off screen. Yes, you can dislike it. Ash Choose Cardboard, French narrator voice, 2 hours later. Ash joined the live. Nintendrovert, do you think you'll ever cry while reacting to a show or movie on this channel? I don't know. My reactions are pretty authentic. I don't watch anything beforehand, so it's possible. Gabriella, I realized you said Gabby was making fun of me while looking for the chat. I found it hilarious. Yeah, because you were saying, you mentioned the 2 hours later, like me looking for the chat, that whole deal. Yes. Glad you found that funny. Sir Goth, why would you want someone to pull the fire alarm? Because there's a fire, I guess. Although it's interesting now, a lot of schools they've changed procedure a little bit, because we've had, some intruders pull the fire alarm. So a lot of schools have changed procedure on that, which I won't go into. But Miss T said, it said I deleted a comment, but I did not. That is really weird. Unless you did it accidentally. That is really weird. Sir Goth Nerd, when I was in high school, senior, someone squatted the school. Meaning, if you mean squatted, like lived in the school and wouldn't leave, that's really crazy. Nowadays, because of the way school safety is, you can get arrested. If the principal or someone else tells you to leave a school building and you don't have a legitimate reason for being there, you can be arrested. So that's a really serious deal. Let's see. Dogwood says, you can't see dislikes, but there's a plug-in to show them. I can see them. I see it. I'm looking at it right now. I can show you here. See it right there? It's like, if you can see my mouse, it's right here. At least it looks like that's what it is. So I generally don't dislike videos. If I don't like a video that much, I just click off of it and not watch it again. But okay. Where was I? I'm almost at the bottom here, and I'm going to have to wrap up. We are at the 1 hour and 54 minute mark. Let's see. Gabby says, why on earth would someone dislike this principal channel? I really appreciate that. It's very, very rare that someone dislikes a video of mine. I've had it happen, but generally not. I try to have just fun, positive videos, and that's it. Let's see. Donjo the Mysterious. What Sir Goth and Nerd 2 meant was you can still dislike a video, but you can't publicly see. Okay. All right. So if someone dislikes a video, it's like a direct message to me, right? I dislike your video, and I want you to know about it. That's interesting. I guess that's good, though. You know, everybody can't see that. Kaimani says, there's one specific Avatar episode that might make you sad or emotional, but we'll get there in due time. There's the storm, lore heavy and deep. Hank the Tank says, it's about not seeing the amount of dislikes. Got it. Hank the Tank, in my opinion, taking away the number of dislikes is hurting free speech. Okay. And there are laws about social media and free speech, and that's a hugely interesting topic that I could go into for a long time. A lot of people get confused about free speech. The right to free speech is very, very important. However, it's talking about the government, like limiting your speech, and not like private companies, which is why, you know, people get in trouble at their workplace by saying stuff that their company doesn't like, and then they get fired, and they're like, what, I have free speech. But if the employer, your boss, or your company can set limits on that, and they're paying you, right? So it's kind of like, you can say that if you want. If you want to work here, you can't. So it's talking about, you know, the government limiting your speech. So I don't know how it works on YouTube. YouTube does have the ability, of course, to do their platform how they want. Let's see. JJ Zone says, watch Facts of Life. It's themed to an all-girl school. Gabby says, I meant to tell you that my mom does take the French narrator stuff on stride. One time we were stuck in traffic, and I said it definitely brought levity. Yeah, and when you're stuck in traffic, you need some levity. I grew up in the Atlanta area. Traffic was horrible. So I definitely understand. Nintendrovert, any idea when you might play Battle for Bikini Bottom? Yeah, I just keep forgetting about it. I hope to do so soon. Ash Choose Cardboard says, Carly throws banana at fire alarm. Who pulled the fire alarm? Yeah, I remember that. She was trying to get herself in trouble, but the teacher who caught her said, I'm so glad you did that. The microwave just caught on fire. So Quarter says, how often do you go live? I used to almost never do it, and then I started doing it like once every couple of weeks, and then I've started doing it like once a week. I'm doing it once or twice a week now. I enjoy it. People tell me that they enjoy it. So let me know what you think. Sir Goth Nerd says, John Stamos was in a show about being a teacher and a basketball coach in an all-girls school. Ash Choose Cardboard says, I think they mean the amount of dislikes isn't public. Right, got it. Hank the Tank says, yeah, with private companies, there's a lot of leeway. I think you made it. Nintendrovert says, you may not want to answer this, but would you fire someone for celebrating a certain thing that happened a few days ago on social media? So in general, in school, you have to be really careful about what you say and where you say it. So teachers have, in fact, I did have a teacher, and I can share this because it was so long ago, that they went on social media and they didn't say that, what you're describing, Nintendrovert, but it was it was something that was edgy enough to where it raised some concerns, and they were asked to take it down. Now, in general, and I attend legal conferences sometimes where they talk about this thing, like where do you draw the line? There's free speech, and you don't want to tread on people's First Amendment rights. However, teaching and being an educator is one of those professions. It's one of the few professions where your conduct matters even when you're not working. You can be held to certain professional ethical standards even when you're not working, and you have to be careful on social media because for a bunch of reasons. I won't go too deep into that, but if you say really, really extreme things, there can be repercussions, and I'll just sort of leave it there. Okay, Marbles Ryan, yeah, let's not. I'm not going to get deeply into that. That's why I sort of framed it as a general social media kind of thing. Gabby says, by the way, the Plankton VA is a really nice guy. A voice actor is a really nice guy. I know it's hard to believe because Plankton is super evil, but he's definitely is. He encouraged me to keep up with my artwork. Super nice guy. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, and on another note, I've had several people draw different things for me. I try to highlight them every so often. I had someone on Discord recently draw me. It was like me doing a reaction video, drinking a cup of coffee, and they hand drew it. When I hit 10,000 subscribers, several people drew some things that I put on a community post. I'll try to, if they give me permission, I will put that on a community post so you can see it. And on that note, I used to think it was funny, especially as a kid, like, for instance, people who do roles that are very outside the norm for them. For instance, like Jim Carrey, right? Back in the day, he did Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Dumb and Dumber, and he's acting so crazy. And then you can go back and see him like in a really serious role. And it's like, that's so weird, you know, to see someone like Jim Carrey, who is that kind of character actor, see him doing like a serious role. Okay, let's see. I think we are in the end of the chat, and my voice is just about gone, and we are at 2 hours and 1 minute. I don't know why, like it always ends up being right at 2 hours. I don't do that on purpose. It ends up being right at 2 hours. Hensel Holtz, yeah, Robin Williams. Like a lot of people have asked for, I almost called it Oh Captain, My Captain, but that's not it. That's the poem they keep doing. Dead Poet Society, where he's got a little bit of a more serious character on there. But, you know, you think of him in like Mrs. Doubtfire and Hook and stuff, and it's just a very different sort of character. Let's see. Anything else? Ash Choose Cardboard. Your shirt reminds me of the popcorn, yeah, with the red stripes. I understand. Donjo the Mysterious. The problem with removing the ability to publicly see video dislikes is you can't generally tell a good video from a bad one. Yeah, you just have to look at the comments. Especially with the AI stuff. A lot of the AI channels or AI video, many of the ones I have seen are just really awful. They're not all bad. There's some of them that I actually like, but some of them, a lot of them, are really awful. Video Master, I think for Halloween, 2 reactions I would recommend are Suit of Zach, and Cody Sweet, 613, and iCarly, Ice Cream on Halloween, okay? Dentintrovert, have you seen the Sonic movies? Jim Carrey, he gets pretty serious at the end of the third movie. Yeah, I've only seen the first one, and there's one part of it I think is absolutely hilarious. In fact, let's find it and watch it together. Hold on. I have to share this. Where is it? Okay. Let me see. I think this is what I'm looking for. All right, hold on. Yeah. I don't know why. I'm not that much of a Sonic fan, but I love this scene. It made me laugh so hard when I saw it. I don't know why. Like, this made me laugh. I'll show it to you. Oh, okay. That's not what I want. Hold on. I'm going to show you this. It's at the end of the movie, if you know the Sonic movie, and the general like comes to their house, and you think that they're gonna like give them this big gift, and he gives them, well, just watch if you haven't seen it.
You got it up there?
Yes, Mr.
Need any more?
Manager. You get that boy.
It's right after this. This part.
Mr. and Mrs. Wachowski,
Yes?
a token of appreciation from your
You see how serious he is, and it's like he's like super serious, and he's giving him an envelope like from the U.S. government, and he's a general, and you think it's going to be like $1 million or something.
government for keeping quiet about recent incidents which never occurred.
Wow. Wonder what it is.
Money to fix the house?
What
Letter
is
from
it?
the president?
You'll see.
Okay.
Olive Garden.
Yeah. The way you said you'll see made me think it was something better than the things we said.
Have you tried their never-ending pasta bowl? It never ends.
I mean, it doesn't get that much better than that. I don't know why I thought that was all that funny, but I did. Surely someone in the chat thought that was funny. It wasn't just me. And his facial expression there, it's like, have you ever... He's a 4-star general, right? Like, you think he's going to say something serious, and then he says that. It's just fantastic. And I've completely lost the chat at this point. Hold on. Where's the chat? I've lost it. I'm trying to get it back. Where's my chat at? No. Sorry, I've lost you for a minute. Where's the chat? I've lost it. There it is. I got it. All right, I'm back. All right. So yeah, I just found that funny is all. I don't know why I found it that funny. Okay. So, let me do a few more. Somehow laughing like that made my voice come back a little bit. So I'll reread a few more chat messages, and then we will quit. So Nintendrovert, I don't know why your comment made me want to see that, but I did. Ash Juice Cardboard, yep, almost at 17K. When we hit 20K, I will do another giveaway video. I enjoyed doing that. Nintendrovert, would you do a collab with one of your subscribers if they had a channel and reached out to you? I would consider it. Depends on what the collab was. It depends on how many subscribers they had. It depends on what their idea was. It depends. Video Master, Sweet Life. Michael Recucutioner is here, channel member. Nice to see you. Hank the Tank, have you ever watched The Truman Show? Yeah, that one was pretty good. I did enjoy The Truman Show. Gabby. Brandon, you're spoiling us. Yep. If you mean the little video, I just thought that was funny. I had to. Let's see. Nintendrovert. I died laughing when he says about Charlotte's Web. Spoiler alert. She dies at the end and she lives behind a big creepy egg sack. JJ's Zone says, watch That So Raven. It has a lot of school scenes. Midnight Kitten, LOL. Midnight Kitten, you've been here for the whole entire stream, as several other people also have. Ash Choose Cardboard says, that's so funny. Nintendrovert says, do you ever intend to watch the other Sonic movies? That's the only one I've seen. I've only seen this one, and I remember that scene. I don't know why, I just think it's hilarious. They think they're going to get like $1 million or something, and it's a gift card to Olive Garden. And I think they mentioned Olive Garden a couple other times, that and... what is it? Zillow. They keep looking for a place to rent on Zillow. I'm like, okay, they paid some money to get in that movie. Kaimani, yeah, says that's fantastic and a smart promo for Olive Garden. Yeah, Olive Garden paid him some money. I thought that was funny. Yeah, he's like a 4-star general here, and he says, have you ever tried the never-ending pasta bowl? It never ends. Like, it's this great thing. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's Olive Garden. It's not that remarkable. Gabby says, this is hilarious. It's like a teacher calling you outside of the classroom and tells you you want some McDonald's gift card. Yeah. Ricardo Zatino, how has this school year been for you so far? It's been really good. Sir Cashpin Music, I'm right here, LOL. Michael Recutioner, Brandon, any plans to continue the Stanley Parable? Yes. In fact, I may even do it live on a stream because when I played it, a lot of people said, hey, you need to do this to get this ending, so I may need some help on that. Or I may do a pre-recorded video. Odd Night 99. In the Knuckles series, Knuckles turns the living room into a dojo and traps the mailman inside. Wow. Ash Choose Cardboard, 20K family reveal. We'll see. I'll do one of those at some point in time. Anthony Durden says hi, and I'm almost at the end here. When I get to the end, I'm going to stop. Quarter says, have you seen the sketch show? I have not seen it. Hank the Tank says, remember kids, when things get too hard, quit. I'm sure that's a quote from something. Nintendrovert, I want to tell him what happens to the guy in the third movie, but I don't want to spoil it to him. I don't know if I'm going to see it or not, Nintendrovert. We'll see. Alan Onamade, you skipped my comment. Sorry if I skipped your comment. I think I've said that several times. I'm scrolling up. I don't see it. It must have been way back. Sorry about that. JJ Zone says, watch The Boy Meets World, and then was Sean. It's Halloween themed. Oh, that's the episode title. Ash Shoes Cardboard, keep sending messages so we keep in here all night. No. Now, last time you about kept me here all night because you kept donating things, but that was a little different. I am at the end of the chat. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm getting tired. It is after 9 p.m. here, and we've been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and, Hansel Holtz, let the donation wars begin. I don't know if they're willing to do that this time, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the chat. I enjoy the streams even if no one donates. Honestly, I don't do it for that. Sometimes people get in a donating mood and sometimes they don't, which is totally fine. I enjoy it even without the donations. So thank you. I think we did have one. We had somebody, I'm a fangirl, became an honor roll level member, which I do get income from those as well, of course. So thank you, I'm a Fangirl, for purchasing a Honor Rolls member. You can join the Discord, and you can also see all of the members-only content and get this week's videos early. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. If it is evening where you are, it might be morning where you are. Have a great one, and I will probably do another stream on Wednesday. So stick around, or not stick around, but look for it on Wednesday. Same time. It'll be 7 p.m. Eastern. I think that's 11 p.m. if you keep up with UTC time, but it'll be 7 p.m. Kaimani Burrell with the $2 donation says, I claim automatic victory. Okay, Kaimani, thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. And goodbye to everybody who's saying goodbye. Have a good one, Quarter. Gabby says it in 3 languages. That's pretty impressive. Hank, Midnight Kitten, and Introvert. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Hank the Tank, Gabriella, and Introvert. I will see y'all on tomorrow. If you see my Ned's video, Wednesday, if you want to tune into the stream, if you enjoy these, check out Wednesday's stream. That will be at the same time, 7 p.m. I will see y'all later. Have a great evening. Thank you for watching the stream. Bye-bye.